G'day, I'm Llew from Succession Plus. People often ask, what's the difference between Office Solutions IT and our competitors?
Yep.
And this now is. When I think of the ESOP and that level of accountability, an immediate, if I look at the numbers today and what we were seeing 2 to 3 years ago, on the bottom line, the net return for the business has increased.
G'day, Llew from Succession Plus here again. Today I've got James Sutherland from Office Solutions IT with me. And the reason I've chosen to speak with James today is because James has had one of our employee share plans, or a TSOP as he calls it, you can call it what you like, for 2 years. So he's been through the implementation program, and he's also seen how it's affected his business. So James, how did you find out about the ESOP, or TSOP?
We call it TSOP for team member.
Ah, very good.
And that works. And how did we find out about it, Llew? Initially, I'd sort of gone down the path of having team members look at the company and jump into it, and I wanted a little bit more nous about it. So I went to a good mate of mine at LG Accounting, my accountant. And from there, the ball started rolling.
Excellent. So James, what does the TSOP actually mean to you?
Means a few things, but in a nutshell, I've liked that ability to graduate some of the stars in our team from employers to employees. And so the TSOP has meant a slow process of becoming an owner, and that's sort of a key takeout for me. Another big one would be the company is more accountable. So we don't have a board, that's something we're planning to do, but because we've now got a greater responsibility, I guess, to shareholders, it's brought a higher level of accountability, which has had impacts across the company in a variety of ways.
You mentioned there that the employees have got involved in the business, and there's obviously an education process around that. So what did that education process look like?
Well, it's education is probably the key piece in the puzzle. There is the numbers, there is the fact that we gift part of the business to an employee, but it's that journey of learning more about the business side. It's one thing to know that we actually provide IT solutions, but it's another to know, dividends are paid on a regular basis, et cetera, et cetera. So from the logistics side of it, very, very early on, there was the training and induction to myself and also the other 2 core directors. And then it was, as we identified the first wave of employee owners, we then worked with Succession Plus to educate them. And that is an ongoing thing because it's such a dynamic solution.
What's the philosophy behind the Office Solutions IT TSOP?
The core philosophy would be coming out of one of the company values. We have 5 company values. They start with honest, care, smart, fun, and growth. And growth is really where we wrap our ESOP. And what we mean by that is it's a tough thing in business. We have had some brilliant people go through the doors, come and go, and as an employer, it's sad seeing good talent go, but you also understand that you're often part of someone's journey.
That's right. Yeah.
So something like the ESOP sat so well with our growth program. We're always looking at growth culture. We're always looking to keep someone as long as we could, so to speak. So if we can pick someone up as, a good example would be a team member who came on board as a receptionist, and 7 years down the track, not only is she looking over our books and everything and really taking on a lot of responsibility around a 15 million turnover business, we're able to reward her by saying, hey, you've now got a stake in the company. And that's extremely satisfying. It's that care factor that's in the value, but also the growth. How terrific to support her growing.
Yeah, that's a terrific story. So James, just focusing on that growth as one of your values, part of the implementation process of the TSOP is that we go through the workshop process. How important was that workshop process in getting that education piece around the employees so they could understand what was going on?
It was massive. I remember there was a single piece very, very early on where I think you asked the question, so we turn over 15 million, how much do you think the owners make?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wow, millions. So that, I don't mean to highlight it, but that was sort of an example of people assume there's a sense of naivety. Most people are really, they're after the paycheck, but that's dumbing it down too much. But look, the education, the workshop, huge. And then the very fact that there's the Q&A after it. And so, 20% might be asking the question, but the other 20% might be thinking it. And then other people in the room are going to take stuff away and bring it back so that the workshop develops. So we're now up to our third wave. And I like the way that the workshop's even more bespoke around what we're trying to achieve. And that just means that journey is very supportive. And it's a big thing. A lot of our guys are super clever when it comes to IT, but on the business side, they didn't sign up for this. But now that they've got that opportunity, it's great to be able to provide structure and confidence with expertise.
So in a way, it's empowered them to understand that the things they do day to day and bring to the table around the meetings you have monthly with the team members, how that can impact on the bottom line.
Yes, and it's interesting, that journey of employer to employee, employee to employer. A good example was one of our team members is a very clever programmer, and we were months down the track, and he was part of that first wave, and he identified there's a software piece that we pay for, and it's like $80K a year, and he said, "Are you serious? That's what we pay for that? Because it's not that great, and I know we use it, but if you gave me 6-8 weeks on my own, I could write a better version." Now that in itself, without the TSOP, that actually, if you look at that over a 10-year, that's almost $750,000, let alone him coming up with that idea, telling his story to some of the other team members. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy. Suddenly they're walking it, then they action, and they're rewarded for new actions. It's been, for me, sort of the oldest guy in the building, it's been a great thing. I do have an MBA.
Still looking sharp.
Thank you. Give it a go. But for me, massive satisfaction in watching that, as you say, that in empowerment, but also the self-worth to watch people stand taller and walk taller.
Fantastic. What do you think's unique about the Office Solutions IT TSOP?
We've been really guided about people entering the TSOP. It's really important to set some boundaries. So every year it's almost a cold sweat when we look at who is eligible, but then who's actually earned the right. Now, that's definitely a bespoke thing for us. Look, other elements would be the fact that we, on that journey to encourage more owning the business, so to speak, the fact that we do pay dividends on a very, very regular basis, the fact that we do, we're really keen in communicating as clearly as possible. So there's the fact that we're using some of our Microsoft tools to enhance those experiences. I would have thought that that's open to everybody, but we've just, in the short period that we've had it, it's getting more and more, what do I say, sort of structured and illustrative. And it's been a massive part of us stepping forward. So when we started, we had 7 people joined that first wave. Today, there's over 20.
Wow.
And importantly, as we've grown interstate, it was fantastic to be able to say to the team member leading the Melbourne office, you're an owner in this business. And we rest easy when that person is out. Like, they were locked down for 3-4 months. In fact, we still haven't been able to get over.
Well, they went there, I understand, and got locked down the next day.
They did.
Like
within
that.
a week, they were, which was really tough. But again, things like the fact that they are able to walk knowing that they're an owner in the business, that they are very, very well valued, and they're integral to where we're going.
So when you started speaking about the TSOP to the employees, how well was it received?
I think there was a bit of unknown. I think having a team of smart people, there was a sense of cynicism, and probably it was an area that they didn't have expertise in, so there might have been some fear there. So there was some moments where you were thinking, we've got to step into our leadership and own this. That's where Succession Plus, you guys were fantastic.
Thank you.
the people who'd been in for 2 years, when we said, oh, look, there's these shares up for grab, is anyone interested? One of the team members said, I'll take them all, no problem. I'll take them all. And it's like, well, he gets it, he really gets it.
Yeah.
And he'll often jab me and say, I'm going to get all yours one day, which is beautiful. I really, you wouldn't want anything less.
No, that's right.
But then, interestingly, someone within our dialogue on MS Teams had said, look, I'm a bit cash strapped at the moment, so I'll go off and I'll see what I can do. And someone else in the TSOP said, you've got to be kidding, beg, borrow, steal to get, because this is such a high-performing asset. Good luck with what you're going to be thinking about with where you'll get returns on your money. So that's the interplay I hadn't expected between, it's from 7 now out to 20. That's been exciting.
So very well received.
It has been. Now, as we talked about earlier, it is definitely part of that. We're an employer of choice because we're offering. If you are outstanding, if you do what's asked and a little extra, you can own a slice in something that is going places.
Yeah, it is, and it's growing because of that employee engagement.
Look, it really is. When I think of the ESOP and that level of accountability, an immediate, if I look at the numbers today and what we were seeing 2 to 3 years ago, on the bottom line, the net return for the business has increased. People often ask, what's the difference between Office Solutions IT and our competitors? And this now is. This is significant. So we're with 20 people who are owners out of our, I think we'll say 80. When we compare ourselves to other, we call ourselves managed service providers, there would be less than 1% who are doing what we're doing, let alone that high percentage. So and what does that mean to someone who's looking for managed services? It means that there's a very high chance that the team member that you talk to is an owner. So bottom line is, they've got skin in the game, they want to do the right thing by you. Now that, you might see it with a team of 3 to 5, because you've got an owner or two, or an owner and his wife and his son. But once you get to over 80, that makes us pretty different. So I'm really excited about how we are today and where will we be. I'd like to think Office Solutions IT will have over 100 people on the ESOP, TSOP.
One last question, James. What would you say to someone who is considering putting an ESOP in place? What are the key takeouts?
Number one would be that road to secession, that road to exit. And I think any responsible owner should have an exit strategy. If they hadn't considered it, I'd say look at an ESOP. And for a variety of reasons. As we said, it can be that combination of the best valuation of your business is going to be from internals, because they know what you do and they know that if they own, they might be able to value add. The second one would be, as we say, that concept of employee to employer, to have across so many different layers, someone who's looking after our logistics, we turn over in sales about $5-6 million. So to have 2 owners in that space, and they're one step up from managing a warehouse, but they're looking for those little extra 1% to win. Now, I like to think they always were, but when they're getting an improvement in their dividend every second month, you're going to see that. So I'd be saying to owners, look a little closer. I'm disappointed that Australia only has a 6% take-up as compared to, I think, France has got 23%.
France, certainly parts of the world are much higher than Australia. The US experience is a much higher uptake. But I think that we'll see a pretty big uptick in this area, going by the amount of inquiry that we've seen over the last year. It's really skyrocketed. So.
And another little one in that same space would be improved liquidity. So if we're a publicly listed company, we might be able to go and sell some shares. But in this scenario, it suddenly opens the door to more internal ownership that know the value. And so there's some really good disciplines around it. I love the fact that we're valued on an annual basis. I think that's a very healthy thing. And that makes, as we had said earlier, it makes all of us accountable.
You mentioned a moment ago that you paid the dividends regularly. How often do you pay them?
It's monthly.
Monthly? Well, that's fantastic, James. Thanks very much for your time today. And I'm sure you'll all agree that there's some amazing advantages in having an employee share plan. Thanks very much, James.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. And I would encourage anyone who's got just the hint of interest, talk to these guys. They're bloody good at what they do.
Thank you.